What is up, YouTube, Spotify, iTunes? This is Generation Hustle! Today, we are doing a sweet concept. A pretty freaking sweet... Oh, before I start, actually, hit that like button and subscribe.
Subby, do a little subby.
Tappy tap.
Little comment.
Everyone wants to get started in real estate. Everyone might not have some money, but we're saying if you did have $15,000, you worked a job for a little bit, you saved up $15,000, or you did a side hustle to get $15,000, what would we do with that $15,000 to get started within real estate?
Is it real estate only?
It
Or
could be
anything,
it could be
yeah.
any investment.
How can you invest if you have any money, like $15,000-$20,000?
Okay.
Yeah.
And all our answers might be different. They might be the same, but I'm
Yeah.
curious to hear what you guys would say.
Nice. Who wants to go first?
Oh, I haven't given it. I
All right, I'll
have
go
to think
first.
about it. Go ahead.
I'll go first.
Yeah.
So, if I were just getting started, I had no knowledge in real estate, investing whatsoever. I had 20 grand and I was twiddling my thumbs. Where do I get started? I think the first thing I would get started is, for one, I'd spend a little bit of money on education, because I think that goes a long ways on how to, and now of course you got to pick what you want to educate in, whether that be the stock market. For me, I think I would still go into real estate, and I would take a class on learning a little bit about more rentals. And then once I discovered the BRRRR method, I would throw my $20,000 and go buy a house. I would go and you could probably get a $200,000 house. If you get it the traditional way and you have a W-2, you could pay 3.5% down as a secondary home, which is $7,000. Spend the other $10,000 in a few renovations, and then turn around and rent it out. And then if the market went up, or if the interest rates went down a little bit, then I'd refi my money back out. Now I have that 20 grand to go do another one, and that's kind of how I would get started.
Okay, so
Is
you
I
would do
go
a
into rental
you
properties
would do a rental property with.
and education.
Do you say 20% with a 20% down, or like a
That's
FHA, like
I would
conventional?
go. I would go more FHA conventional,
And
because
so live in the property for a year,
live in the property,
and then maybe
or,
rent out the rooms.
Or I would probably, because you can get a secondary house with 3.5% down.
Okay.
A lot of people don't know that, but if you have a W-2 income, you can get a 3.5% down payment on a $200,000 house. Is only $7,000 plus a little bit of closing costs, 10 grand total, and then you throw your other 10 into a few renovations or something like that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's a good answer.
So that's kind of where I'd go.
So
What you doing?
we're doing 20,000. I might have said 15 in the beginning, but I meant to say
Yeah.
20. So if you had 20,000 saved up, what would you do? The first thing is, I was gonna say what Daryl says at the beginning. Maybe set like 4,000 aside for education. Go to conferences, Bigger Pockets, maybe 10x GrowthCon, and maybe buy some courses online that you can learn a lot about real estate from. That's what I do with some of the money, maybe like the first 3,000 or 4,000.
Yeah.
From there, I would pick one of two things to do. One thing would be to do an FHA loan and then rent out the rooms to other people, or buy a duplex, live in one of the units, and rent out the other.
Nice.
One other thing that if I didn't choose that, I would do the Airbnb arbitrage, where you actually lease a property, like in the city or in a nice area, for maybe $2,000 a month. You furnish it, so that's where some of that money's going, and then you list it on Airbnb and make about four to six. So you're making like $4,000 on the $2,000 in rent. Obviously, besides the upfront furniture costs, but that's why you have that money. And then eventually it'll pay for the furniture, and then you'll be profiting after that. Once you make enough that way, you can take that money and do another one, and you can actually build a business that way. But then once you get enough from that, you can start getting into rental properties where you're putting a little bit less down. But it's this little slower way, but I mean, it's a great way to learn about real estate, learn how to manage Airbnbs, because eventually you can buy your own if you do that long enough and learn how to do it.
I love that. I mean, that's huge. Mine's more of a long-term thing with long-term rentals, but the Airbnb arbitrage is genius.
Yeah.
Because you can really go in and take that 20 grand, literally furnish the house, sign a lease, and you're done.
Yeah, boom.
Boom, yeah.
Your cash flow on day one.
Now, I would do the education first to
Yeah.
learn how to do it before
Yeah.
you just jumped right in. I mean,
Yeah,
and
there's-
you could learn it free. I mean, YouTube University will show you everything.
Yeah. And you can also buy people do sell courses on if you want to
Yep.
know really deep details of it.
Yeah. How about you,
Yeah.
Carlos?
I have to agree with you guys about the education. I think the education is huge. I do think that knowing myself I wouldn't get too far into education, only because I know that I would start to spin my own wheels, right? Kind of like that
Squirrel.
Yeah.
Chase new thing.
shiny syndrome,
Yeah.
like new
Yeah.
shiny object syndrome. Like I'd hate to do that, so I would just look around. I would get more comfortable with. Really, okay. So this would be my plan of attack. I would have some money. I would probably set aside maybe $3,000 or whatever, and like slowly start investing in figuring out, just like in college you do, right? Like you start to take different classes and try to figure out what it is that interests you the most.
Yeah.
But meanwhile, what I would do is I would go, assuming that I'm not married, assuming I don't have kids, is I would go out and I would rent a place, a whole house, right? I'll rent a whole house, and then I would start to be a like a landlord, but like a landlord in training, right?
Yep.
I live in a house. I'm renting out the different rooms. I don't necessarily own any place yet, but I would rent out the different rooms, kind of figure out what that system looks like, and then I want to eventually exaggerate those skills so that I can exercise them for houses, right?
Yeah.
If I can, just like the saying that if you don't know how to manage $100, you don't know how to manage 1,000. If you don't know how to manage 1,000, you don't know how to manage 10 or 100 or 1,000,000, right? So if I don't know how to manage one single bedroom and one single tenant with one single personality where I can see the kitchen and the bathroom that they use on a regular basis, that if I can't manage that and I'm too emotionally like attached to, oh my God, they ruined it or whatever, right? Then like, can I do the same with a house that I buy when I become better with money and I can go out and buy something? So it would just be one of those like landlord in training things. So I would invest money. I would go out. I would rent a place. I'd still have money. I would learn those skills. I would live for free, continue to save more money so that I can then go out and buy a house and start. I'd probably do an FHA, live in the room for it, and then rent that whole house out.
Yep.
And then continue to rent. I mean, I know people that have rented spaces and own 5, 10 houses,
Oh,
right?
I agree.
And they live very modestly while they still have multiple rentals going on. So I would see how I can cut as much cost as possible, save as much money, and cash flow as much as possible, so that I almost like never depleting my 20,000. As soon as it gets like once I can buy one and have 20,000, go out, put out 15,000. House, live in it for 6 months, whatever, and then I start renting out the rooms, and then I move out to the next one, and then I just keep doing that.
Yeah.
I would just continue to house hack.
Yeah.
I would
That's
just
perfect.
leapfrog from house to house. But throughout that entire period, I would just continue to go to events. I would surround myself with people who are doing significantly more than me.
Yeah.
That are successful and are very efficient at what they do, and I would just try to duplicate that.
Yeah.
I mean, duplication is the what is it? It's very flattering. I don't know what it.
Yeah.
I've never heard that one.
No, but like if you're copying somebody,
Yes.
that person that you're copying is very flattered because obviously you
took their model.
You
and
took their
copied
model,
it,
yeah.
and now they're
Yeah.
honored that you took that.
exactly. So
Same steps.
So that's what I would try to do is I would just try to surround myself by people who do that.
And I think that's huge because you really need to understand, because if you take the stuff to heart, you got to have thick skin to be in the real estate game, because people tear your stuff slam up, especially like you're talking about through your Airbnb arbitrage. People go into my Airbnb and they tear everything up.
Yeah.
They trash it.
Furniture.
They don't care. They put their feet on the furniture. They just do whatever. And
Yeah.
if you didn't have thick skin, then I would take it to heart every time someone came and messed something up, because it cost us money
Yeah.
every time, and we just look at it for the long term. That's all I do. I just look at the long term game, and the little stuff just doesn't matter. It is what it is.
So that'd be my approach. It'd be a very modest, kind of simple approach, but it'd be basically what you guys are doing.
And it could go either way. It doesn't have to be you being single. It could be you having a family. Just if you had a family, you do it a little different because you don't want to move them every 6 months. So now you're kind of going in, hey, does it have a garage that we can house hack, or a basement, and me and my family live upstairs. We rent the basement out, and now it pays for it, and then we move to the next place.
Or
so forth.
Or something that we did as a family is we still do is live very modestly.
Very modestly. Same.
Very simple accommodations. Our expenses are super low. We don't do anything lavishly. I mean, we have rentals that are bigger and nicer and more expensive than what we have, but who cares? I don't care,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
And it'll get to the point where I'll be like, you know what? Let's do a little bit more. That's
Oh, yeah.
fine. We're at a good point where we can do that. But until then, I won't. So
Yeah. Same.
it's just like everybody has a different personality, right? So for
Yeah.
me, it's like live like very small
well, just live
until
below
it's
your
super
means.
comfortable.
Yeah.
Until
Yeah.
it's super comfortable to like
Yes.
expand a little bit more. And once I've expanded, that comfort zone needs to get even bigger.
Yes.
Then I'll expand some more. But I'm never gonna go outside of my means and
And
spend
I
more
think
than
that's
I
the
have to.
biggest thing is live below your means.
Well
I know
below
so
your
many
means.
people that make way less than I do, but spend twice as much as I do.
Yeah.
They just live way above their means. They think they need that brand new car. They need that brand new iMac that just came out or that new iPhone.
Yeah.
And I just don't get that. Why go through and spend all this wasteful money when you
Yeah.
don't have to?
Yeah, like Dave Ramsey says, live like no one now so you can live and give like no one later.
Yeah.
All right, anything else? Should we close it out?
Yeah, I mean, I would say that if you have 20,000, learn ways to invest it.
Yeah.
Don't sit on it because it's sitting in
Yeah.
your bank is getting you 0.01% on your
Yeah.
money. So it's
And
sitting
it's
in the
losing
savings.
value every day.
Now, it
Everything's
might
getting more
look-
expensive.
But it might look good sitting in that checking account. You check your balances and you're happy about it, but it's not doing you any good. So learn to get rid of that 20,000 as fast as you got it because the faster it brings you in money, the better off you're going to be.
It's funny you say that because I was gonna end off with make sure you don't feel like you need to spend.
Well,
Spend
no,
that
you should
money.
feel like you need to spend it, just not right away.
Yeah.
Yes,
So-
but not on dumb stuff.
Yeah,
either,
yeah,
'cause
yeah.
That's a big difference.
Absolutely. You should, because it's like a boomerang, right? Like
Yes.
as soon as you put it out in a good investment, you should see what that return is. You
Comes
should see how
back to
fast you
you.
can get it back, the velocity of money. So like for that, yeah, but you shouldn't
Yes.
feel like, and a lot of people feel this way, where it's like I have 20,000. How do I spend it as quickly
Yes.
as possible? And it's
Spend, not invest.
Correct.
So
Spend
yeah.
on
So,
invest.
but people won't know the difference.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right? They'll be like, oh, but if I buy this, it's an investment. It's not
It's
really
not
an
an
investment.
investment, yeah.
Don't just spend it just to spend it.
Yeah.
Be wise about it.
And I
because-
think another big thing is education, like we all hit on. Education is huge. Learn ROI because your return on investment on that 20,000 can look very different depending on which way you go.
Yeah.
Like for you, for instance, you're getting 25% ROI on most of your rental properties, correct?
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
some of them I get infinite if I get
And
all that
infinite
money
if
back.
you get that money back.
Yeah.
And the same with you, Carlos,
Yeah, yeah.
to where if you throw that same 20,000 in the stock market, you're probably only getting 8 or 9% ROI, which is good, don't get me wrong, but when you're in the double digit returns, now the rule of 72 comes in, and that's a whole nother topic. How quick can you double that money?
Yeah.
Yeah.
How quickly can you go from 20 to 40?
Yeah.
And now rule of 72, if you're at 20% ROI, it's going to take you about 3 and some change years
Yeah.
to
6.
double it up. Yeah,
Yeah.
3.6 years to double it up. So
Yeah.
if you're at a 9%, it's going to take you almost 7 years, 8 years to get a
Yeah.
double your return.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, compounding interest is huge because people don't
Yes.
realize that. They just think 9%, that's what they're making every year, but it's 9%, and then it's on top of that 9% the next
compound
year.
it.
And that's how the appreciation with properties work, and that's how stocks work too. When it's compounding like that,
Yeah.
you see it multiply 10 times faster than just 9% a year.
And the higher that ROI is, the faster it compounds and the faster it doubles.
Yeah.
So
All right, so that's what
Cool.
we would do with $20,000. What would you do? Leave it in the
Hey.
comments.
well, the choice is yours. I mean, the choice
Yeah.
is yours. You
Yeah.
have that in there, and I know a lot of you are looking right now. You just switched back to your bank account and you saw it. Now, what are you going to do with it?
Yeah. Yeah. Now we all do real estate. And some of us do stocks.
Yep.
So it doesn't have to necessarily be only real estate,
Yeah.
but just figure out what your investment strategy is that serves your skill set,
Yeah.
and
And
then
get
just
educated.
explore that.
Yeah.
Explore that. Get educated, and then go out and get it. Generation.
Hey!